My name is Dr. Pooja Sabharwal, Assistant Professor, CBPACS, that is Chaudhary Brahmprakash Ayurved Charak Sansthan, under Government of NCT of Delhi. And I am also core group member of Ayurveda Day initiative that is anchored by India Foundation. So in this episode, we have with us Dr. Partap Chauhan ji, Director, JIVA Ayurveda. Sir, I welcome you for this interview. Dr. Partap Chauhan ji is an Ayurvedic physician, author, public speaker, TV personality, and the pioneer of Ayurvedic telemedicine. He started the world's first Ayurvedic website, that is jiva.com, in the year 1995. And he's the only Ayurvedic doctor to have won the prestigious World Summit Award given by United States organization. He is founder, director of JIVA Ayurveda Company that runs a network of 80 clinics all over India and the world's largest Ayurvedic telemedicine center, consulting more than 8,000 patients daily. So Dr. Chauhan has traveled to more than 40 countries, spreading the knowledge of Ayurveda to common people. He has established JIVA Ayurveda schools in Japan, France, Poland, and Lithuania. And he is a lifetime Ashoka Fellow. So he has published first ever big data analysis on Ayurveda. So once again, I welcome Dr. Partap Chauhan ji, and he is also the core group member of this Ayurveda Day initiative, which is anchored by India Foundation. So let's begin our interview with Dr. Partap Chauhan ji. So, sir, to start with, I would like to have the basic first question that you began your journey by healing people in your garage, and in 1992. Can you throw some light on how you started your journey with Ayurveda?
In those days, it was very difficult. There were many challenges when I was an Ayurveda student in early 80s in Delhi University. So there was not much interest in Ayurveda. Most of the people who came to Ayurvedic colleges and they graduated, they wanted to practice allopathy. I was one amongst, I think I was the only one as far as I remember. So I had a very deep interest in learning Ayurveda and practicing Ayurveda. So I even found a guru when I was in my second year, Vaidya Nanak Chand Sharma. He was a very famous Vaidya in Delhi. And after finishing my BAMS degree, I studied under him like a proper Guru Shishya Parampara, we have in India in the traditional way. So I studied with him for 5 years after finishing my degree of BAMS. And then I started my practice. When I started my practice, I had no money. So I had a small garage in my house, old furniture. And I'm very thankful to my guru. He gave me some medicines worth rupees 2,500, which is roughly like $35, if you calculate. So that was my initial investment in starting JIVA Ayurveda. But then there was a next challenge that when I started practicing, patient didn't want to come and see me because in those days, the image of a Vaidya was like the Vaidya should be an old person, something old with beard or maybe like having some kind of like a wise old person. So, I was, trying to convince people that I am the doctor. Sometimes they would come and ask me, we want to see your father, where is your father? But anyway, I struggled and I worked hard. And for 6 days, I used to practice in my garage. And 7th day, which was a Sunday, I will pick up all the medicines filled in a bag. And I will go to Vrindavan by taking a bus. And there I started, practicing in the ISKCON temple. I used to give free consultations to the people there. And that was my initial journey. This was very interesting. I was really like learning a lot in those years. So it was good and very tough journey. Many, many challenges were there.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your answer. So it's really inspiring and encouraging to know about your starting days, about your struggle of starting days, your initial days, how you have started your journey. So my next question is, You have said that my dream is to see Ayurveda in every home. How is this possible and pragmatic?
I always realize that Ayurveda is not only for sick people, Ayurveda is for everybody and it should reach every home. And in addition to that, in 1992, I also got to get an initiation from a spiritual guru, Shri Haridas Shastri Ji Maharaj from Vrindavan. And I was very, very passionate that, we must spread this knowledge. Everybody in the world should have Ayurveda. Every home should have Ayurveda. So this is how that dream came. But, it was a tough job. And of course, this dream was also in line with the aim of Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, we say, swastasya swasthya rakshanam aturasya vikar prashmanam che, which means Ayurveda is not only for sick people, but also for healthy people. So in 1994, I got a chance to travel to Europe. One of my patients whom I treated, he was living in Germany and, he said, why don't you come over to France? We're having some kind of a seminar. So maybe you can teach. I said, I have no money. He said, don't worry, we will pay for your ticket. We'll pay for your expenses. So I got to visit France, England, Denmark, and Sweden, 4 countries. And when I was there, I realized that, there's a lot of interest. So now this dream of bringing Ayurveda to everybody became more strong. And on my return, I created the world's first Ayurveda website. I learned everything myself, the HTML language and everything. And that was the beginning of bringing Ayurveda to every home. In fact, that was also the beginning of Ayurvedic telemedicine. But, that was not enough. I was already, talking with people in more than 100 countries, in that time. I started an online school. Then I started teaching in 97, like with video conferences. But then I was also thinking how to reach the rural people in India who had no facilities of internet. So then in 2002, I created an app, that could be called the first app of Ayurveda when there were no smartphones. So I created an app on Nokia phone and I trained one person on a scooter. He will go from village to village and take the history of the patient. This project was called Teledoc, and this was the project that won the United Nations Award out of 136 countries. And then that was not the end of the story because this was only limited to 50 villages. I wanted to reach out to more and more people. So in 2006, I created a television show, and through television, I was able to reach out to millions of people, and that's how the dream started becoming a reality. But it's not still completed. I'm still working on it, and I want to really bring Ayurveda to every home.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. Yes, of course, sir, your struggle and your faith in Ayurveda, it's truly amazing to know about your ventures and your efforts. And certainly, Ayurveda is going to reach every home. My next question is that in March 2020, a group of French doctors and nurses led by the head of the French Institute of Mind-Body Practices and Integrative Health Sciences from Paris visited you and JIVA Ayurveda. Do you see the future of healthcare as collaborative and integrative as this approach? What lessons we can infer from this?
Definitely, it's a nice question. And I see that there's a lot of interest in the West, especially I would say more and more medical professionals, MDs in the West. Many of them, they have even studied, some kind of professional courses, some basics courses of Ayurveda in JIVA, because we have JIVA academies in France, Japan, Poland, and Lithuania, and many courses are, also organized in different countries. So many doctors, interestingly, have realized that a collaborative or a integrative medicine is the way forward, because they come to us because they realize that something is not complete in their practice. Like I have cardiologists, I have like orthopedic surgeons, I have pediatricians, gynecologists who have really come to JIVA and they have studied, and they are now integrating this knowledge in a small way in their practice. Also, more and more scientists, more and more doctors are now realizing that we have to learn more from the East, or what we call the traditional medicine, which is also sometimes they call it Eastern medicine. So therefore, I have a very strong belief that the future, especially in the Western countries, is going to be quite integrative. And in our Jiva Gram that we have built a couple of years ago, we already are doing a lot of integration right now, especially of all our Ayushpathies, like whether it is Ayurveda, yoga, naturopathy, or even we're doing Rag Chikitsa, art therapy. And currently, we are in discussion with some doctors. The only problem right now is we're trying to come on a common platform. Sometimes, what they speak, we don't understand. What we speak, they don't understand. So we're creating a platform where we both can be very comfortable and talk to each other. And let's see what kind of protocols will come out of this. But I think this is the way forward, as I can see an interest all over the world.
Okay, thank you, sir. As we can see that integrative medicine is the key to unlock the potential of Ayurveda science, and multidisciplinary approach nowadays is the the only answer. As we can see in this pandemic too, the integrative medicine is the only answer to combat certain dreadful diseases. So of course, this is the collaborative and integrative approach is going to help a lot to the scientific community and for the public health. So as we see that Ayurveda, we always say that Ayurveda is for physical health. My next question is related to mental health, that how according to you does Ayurveda help enable mental well-being?
Most people still know Ayurveda, a very little part of Ayurveda people know, especially in the West you go, people think Ayurveda is oil massage. And even in India, a lot of people think Ayurveda is some home remedies or spices. But, as Ayurvedic experts, we all know that Ayurveda, it's a Veda of Ayu. And what is Ayu? Sharirendriya Sattvatma Sanyog. It's a knowledge about body, senses, mind, and soul. What is body, senses, mind, and soul? This human being. So I often say that Ayurveda is an instruction manual for the human system. Like when you buy a phone, there is a manual you get. When you buy a computer, there is a manual. So what is the manual for this human system? That is Ayurveda. And in this human system, it's not only a body. We have mind, we have emotions, we have a subconscious mind, we have intellect, we have ego. There are so many things. So therefore, today specifically in this particular situation, when people are suffering, so much at the mental level, I am really, I'm working a lot in this area for last 5-6 months, and I've given many workshops. So there's a lot in Ayurveda for this part of the human system, which we call the mind. And of course, even in the definition of health, when we say samadosha, samagnischa, samadhatu, malakriya, this is mainly for the body. But the next line, prasanna atmendriya mana. So it's very clearly saying that Ayurveda is for the mind also. And not only mind, it is beyond the mind. We have sattva vaja chikitsa, which refers to primarily how to do mano nigraha, how to control your mind. And even beyond that, which is Dev Vipassana. And, interestingly today, if we see in the world, there is a talk about mindfulness, and so many people are talking about sound vibration healing, energy healing. This is nothing but this is Ayurveda. We have to realize, as professionals, we have to realize that this is our Sattva Vaja and Dev Vipassana Chikitsa.
Yes, of course. Along with the physical well-being, psychological well-being is really very important, because from as we from the Ayurvedic perspective, the explanation of human body is entirely different from the contemporary science understanding of human body. Sir, you have traveled widely across the globe and world as a global ambassador for Ayurveda from Europe to Japan. How would you assess the acceptability of Ayurveda across the world? Is there genuine interest? We would like to hear about that.
And you see, when I started traveling, that was like 1994, almost 26 years ago, the first time when I went outside India. That time people were very, very skeptic. They were like, sometimes they were coming to check on me, like, who is this guy? Is coming from India? Is he going to teach some religion, or what is he? What is he? But because Ayurveda is such a logical science, it's such a rational science for every human being. As I said, this is the knowledge about the human system. And human beings are same all over the world. Doesn't matter where you are. All people have 2 legs, 2 hands, 2 lungs, 1 heart. It's the same everywhere. So therefore, people started relating with what I was telling them. And slowly, people, started practicing what I, just was teaching them, simple things. When they started practicing, they got the benefit. So from skeptics, they changed to believers, and now it is in the mode of acceptance. Rather,
Yes.
there's so many people now embracing, even like this initiative of the Ayurveda Day that we are celebrating. We are very happy to share that in all the 6 continents, more than 70 countries, people are now celebrating this, which means that more and more people are now accepting. So acceptance has grown over the years.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your experience, because you have traveled a lot across the globe. So definitely, Ayurveda is going to be, it is going to be accepted as a legal or mainstream medicine with our continued efforts, as we are doing with this Ayurveda Day initiative across 75 countries. So definitely, we will achieve this goal. So my next question is, sir, as now we have discussed about the acceptance of Ayurveda, my next question is, how and why is Ayurveda contemporary health science?
Of course, it's a traditional medical system. Of course, in Ayurveda, we have all studied as an Ayurveda student that this is even like we say this has been existing ever since human beings are here. But anyway, even if we go into the historical facts, it's a very old system, thousands of years, But the interesting thing about Ayurveda is that it's most relevant even in the current time, because the principles of Ayurveda are based on some very, very important, things that human beings do. If we can just, simply classify ahara, vihara, vichara, and vyavahara, 4 things, our food, our lifestyle, our mental well-being or thoughts, and our behavior. So this is what human beings are doing every day. And Ayurveda just talks about this in a very personalized way. Ayurveda helps us to understand our personal prakriti, our personal constitution, and then helps us to design our own food, lifestyle, exercise, everything based on my prakriti. And today, especially when the world is struggling with all these so-called NCDs, lifestyle diseases, and mental diseases, and all these problems which the modern healthcare system is not being able to tackle. So Ayurveda actually becomes even more important, because Ayurveda has the solution for all these so-called lifestyle diseases, because Ayurveda talks about lifestyle, what is an ideal lifestyle for an individual. So this is quite, I would say, relevant in the modern times also.
Okay, thank you, sir, for this answer. And the next question is related to this question only, that looking at the future of Ayurveda, is telemedicine is the future? Could you throw some light on how JIVA has adopted this model?
I saw this future like 26 years ago, or 25 years ago, to be more precise, when I started the first website, and I started doing online consultations in those years. So because I realized that technology is going to play a leading role in imparting healthcare, especially even in India, when we see the data, we see that there are very few medical facilities available in the rural India. But now everybody, even in the villages, has technology. So we can connect to them. And especially in the current pandemic, when the whole world was under lockdown, we already realized the importance. In fact, last 6 months, my consultations and my lectures and, the teachings that I was doing is almost doubled, and I have not moved out of my home. You will be very surprised to know. I'm just using technology, and people are very happy. So what I'm realizing is that after the pandemic, there is going to be something called new normal, because already now people are very, very comfortable with. Of course, in JIVA, we have been doing this telemedicine for last almost 15 years. We started in 2006. So many people, even like people living in cities like Mumbai, they have sometimes told me, because I tell them, I have a clinic in Mumbai, why don't you go and see the doctor?
Mhm.
They say, no, there's no need. Your doctors are very good, your protocols are very good, and the medicine comes to my home and I can do a follow-up, sitting in my home. And the best part is that, everything, especially that we do in JIVA, it's documented, and we have a database of more than 2 million patients right now.
Wow.
So everything is documented, everything is as per the protocols from our classical textbooks. So I think people are getting more and more comfortable with this new normal.
Yes. All right. Thank you, sir, for this beautiful answer that yes, definitely many people are going to adapt the way you have adapted and the success you have received. So my next question is that in what way do you think that the global Ayurveda community should pioneer validating Ayurvedic treatment scientifically?
We may be knowing that Ayurveda is already, like a validated science for thousands of years, but for the modern population, for the modern generation, even for the acceptance of Ayurveda in the scientific world, validation is definitely needed. And validation does not mean that we need to compromise with our basic principles. This is very, very important that as we move into this direction, we should not lose the focus from our basic principles. So I would say that first necessity that we all have is that we need to create our own research protocols, because Ayurvedic research has to be done more in an Ayurvedic way, based on individual prakriti. We have so many other factors. So I think this will be a pioneering work, as you are asking, that we can pioneer this work to create our own research protocols. We don't need to really follow the protocols of other systems, which may not necessarily be suitable for Ayurvedic principles. And then the second thing we should do is that we should educate these modern scientists and doctors so that they can come on the same platform. I have worked with many scientists. Even in fact, we are working with some university in France and some university in Europe, and they're very comfortable as long as you can just explain them your basic principles. They're very comfortable, and I think we can come together and we can work faster and make Ayurveda as a acceptable medical system in the world.
Thank you, sir. Of course, I always say that there are three pillars of, to globalize any science, that is the public, scientific community, and the policymakers. So we are reaching homes with Ayurveda. We need to reach the scientific community. We need to create the evidence as much as, because research is the major component, because for the documentation of the cases, it's really, really very important. So thank you, sir, for this answer. So now, sir, my next question is that knowledge provides a clear vision. As per you, what are the ways and the means in which policymakers can enable people understand the benefits of Ayurveda through education? Because policymakers, they are the third pillar for, like mainstreaming any science.
When it comes to education, we have to remember that the basic education is in the schools. It's very important that policymakers, I would say that Ayurveda should be made mandatory at the school level, because again, we are human beings, and Ayurveda is this knowledge about the human system. So the education should not be only about physics, chemistry, mathematics, and just getting a degree and then becoming a postgraduate and become an MBA. Or I have seen, we're working with one university in France. It's very interesting. That's a management in a school, and they have come to the conclusion that all our graduates or the students, they are very good in their business, but in their personal life, in their emotional life, they are suffering. So how can we help them? I said, because you never taught them about emotions, you never taught them about mind, how to keep the mind healthy and happy. So therefore, this will be a very important thing for the policymakers to bring it in the schools, and of course to bring it in the colleges wherever people need. We have started programs for school, we have started some programs for colleges. Then there should be awareness programs for masses, especially the programs based on dinacharya, ritucharya, on ahara, vihara, food and lifestyle. these things can be promoted through social media, through television. I think this is very, very important.
Yes. Okay, thank you, sir. So, of course, these three things, public, scientific community, and the policymakers, they are going to, help us a lot. So, what is the future of Ayurveda in the next decade, that is 2030?
This is our theme also of Ayurveda Day, and we have been promoting this thought that people should talk about this. And so my view is that future is very bright. Especially during this pandemic, we have seen more and more interest growing, acceptance is growing. In India, I would say mainstreaming Ayurveda will be something that I would like to see by 2030. Ayurveda should become a mainstream healthcare program in India. Outside India, definitely because integrative, it will be an integrative approach. So I think we should work on setting up Ayurvedic hospitals based on protocols, setting up standards for treatment. Also, educational institutes, we should work on setting up educational institutes, collaborations with medical universities, collaboration with research institutes all over the world. I think this is what I see, and especially not to forget my part, which is technology. Technology is going to play a very, very important role. So while we, set up all these different things, we should not forget to create even technology for Ayurveda, whether it is diagnostic, or whether it is our treatment protocols, or even in like data analysis or different kind of things. So this is what I see by 2030. I am very positive about it, that this will be very, very, big thing. Ayurveda will be a very popular thing in the world.
Many, many thanks, sir, for being here for this question answer session with you. And I think our audiences have learnt a lot from your experiences. So thank you once again, sir, very much for being with us. So viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us for this episode of World Ayurveda Podcast. Thank you very much.